name is Wendy Potomsky and I'm the managing partner and owner of Retake Furniture Rentals. Retake is once again a proud supporter of the Canadian Film Festival and is working to contribute to the Canadian film and TV industry by making it an easy and sustainable place to do business. Retake provides sustainable short and long-term furniture rental options to meet production schedules and product needs. Retake also understands the importance of set design and the dynamic nature of the film and TV industry, which is why we created a company to specifically support Canadian filmmakers. Retake can assist you in setting up your production office with sustainable alternatives to keep your team working safely as we all head back to work. We use sustainable approaches to minimize product going to landfill, which means any product supplied by Retake is helping to support the circular economy. Our in-house upholstery services can tailor our product to meet your set design requirements and match your color schemes. Contact us to discuss your office furniture needs. Our goal is to help you get back to work as safely and efficiently as possible. Stay safe, everyone, and enjoy the films and shorts at this year's Canadian Film Festival.
Celebrate Canadian filmmakers on Super Channel Fuse with an exclusive homegrown event.
I'm ready.
Go.
The Canadian Film Fest, presented by Super Channel, brings this year's festival into your home for a second year as a virtual experience.
Goodbye.
Every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night until April 18th. Enjoy the premieres of indie films and shorts from critically acclaimed and up-and-coming Canadian producers and directors.
And this is where the donkey starts talking.
Immerse yourself in this inspiring and spirited event, both on air and online, with live Facebook Q&A sessions that follow the films.
Makes sense.
Start it.
Experience the Canadian Film Fest, proudly presented by Super Channel.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Canadian Film Fest tonight and our films, DANICA'S Mom and Chained. I'm Ashley Rains. I'm the festival programmer, and I'm joined by my colleague tonight.
I am Laura Good, and I'm one of the festival programmers. Happy to be here.
And we are going to begin our Q&A with the DANICA'S Mom team. So I'm going to start with Kennedy. Why don't you introduce yourself and everyone who's joining us?
For sure. Hi, guys. My name is Kennedy. I wrote and directed the film DANICA'S Mom. And with me, I have the lovely Geraldine Cruz-Love, who plays DANICA'S mom. And I have the great cinematographer, my friend Hirokazu Taka, who shot the film.
Amazing. We, the programming team, loved this short film, and we're so honored that you're sharing your film with us tonight. How did this film come to be? Because I got to say, as a parent, I watched this film and immediately I was like, okay, I have to raise my child not to do this to me. Like, I don't want this experience. But then I also had that teenage guilt of like, I definitely did that to my parents, even before cell phones. So where did this come from for you? And why did you want to tell this story?
Yeah, so my mom is Filipino. So obviously that's the direct influence. And really it was just being curious about her life and kind of what our relationship is like. Yeah, it was just really being curious about that, which I feel like, at the time I wasn't really interested in any other character other than like characters my own age. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to kind of challenge myself and try to make a film about someone who isn't really related. Like it's kind of a different experience, a different perspective from myself. So that's where it really all started.
That's brilliant.
Great. I'd love it if we could also ask you a little bit, Kennedy, about how you found Geraldine, because the casting is so perfect. And I heard a rumor that this is her first role. So I'd love to hear from both of your perspectives, both as the writer-director, how you approached casting, and from Geraldine, how you approached the role and what made you fall in love with it. Maybe Kennedy, you could start us off?
Sure. So we tried to cast professional actors, but it was just hard to get access to any. We even tried street casting. Hiro actually went along for one of those sessions, but it didn't work out. It also felt really creepy just asking people to act for us. So I asked my mom if she knew anyone that had any interest in acting, or maybe could had like that kind of personality. And she recommended Geraldine, who I have known since I was a child, and she's been like a family friend. And yeah, she's really great in it. She accepted and was really excited to be in it.
And then Geraldine, what was that process like for you as a first-time actor coming to set and working with Kennedy?
Blown. Like his mom phoned me and asked if if I could help Kennedy, because he was doing this film as a school project, and if I'm willing to do it. I said, sure, yeah, I'll do it. If it's a school project, for sure, next time if I need help, you're gonna, you will help me, right? So I said, okay, I'll do it. And she said, fine, good. So, and then when I was talking to Kennedy, he told me how many days I needed. And then I said, wait, I'm gonna be kind of busy. Is it okay, like in between, while you're preparing to take a shot of me, can I do my housework? Can I do this, that, cook? Because I have a husband and a teenager to feed, right? He said, yeah, Geraldine, sure, that's okay, that's fine, you can do that. So I said, okay, and then I'm on board. But honestly, I didn't expect anything when I thought it was just gonna be like him taking a picture or whatever, like short movie. And then I was really blown away when I saw all the equipment rolling in the house. I go, what is this? Did I sign up for something big? But I mean, they made me comfortable. They're so good. The crew, they're amazing. Like I didn't feel like I was so out of my element in a way. Is that the right term? So I just whatever they told me to do, I did. But it's up to them. I said, okay, they know what they're doing. I'll just do whatever they tell me. And that's how we kind of did it.
Well, I think you delivered a beautiful performance for this short. Congratulations.
Absolutely. It's so empathetic and it really grounds the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that is your terrific performance. It really holds the film together, but also some really powerful directorial choices, and particularly the choice to have it be shot entirely from the point of view of the mom. And even it's right there in the title. It's, it's about Danica's mom. It's not about Danica. And what drove you, Kennedy, to make that decision at the writing and shooting level, all of the decisions that you did make from, inception to wrap, to really stick with her perspective and even in those final moments? And was that always how you envisioned the film?
So actually, Laura, I would actually say that I think the film actually takes a more detached perspective. I feel like what Hiro and I were trying to do was to try to be more stationary, more kind of, wide angled, and honestly give a perspective of someone else, possibly Danica's perspective, a child's perspective. And because truthfully, I couldn't relate to the feelings of the mother. I could only relate to the feelings on the other side, so I felt that it was sort of a balance. At times I do feel like we did go into Danica's mom's perspective. I think of the shot on the hill, the nice close-up of when she's having that emotional moment. But I think it was more of like a balance, but I would say more so of a kind of detached observational style, just giving her the space to roam around and so we could observe.
Right.
Yeah.
And to add to sorry.
No, please.
To add to that, I think what we wanted to do is definitely focus on her as a film, but the shot itself is kind of detached, so it's kind of both ways. So I think you're right with that, Laura. But I think what it did eventually is that we see everything, the surroundings, she's placed in the house. So it's like really there's a connection. We see what's happening, but at the same time, we just don't know what is going on within her unless you have experienced it yourself. So
And,
It's
and
kind
that
of
was, I think, the point was to get people to kind of feel things for Danica's mom, like it's for them to take things from their own life and to kind of apply it to this experience that they're watching, to the film that they're watching. And so that's, I guess, where the kind of detached, decision making, the detached shots come from. It's just wanting to kind of give the audience the film in a way, to kind of feel things that that aren't explicitly shown from us.
That's great. Okay, so what are you all doing next? Do you have films and projects coming up, and where is this film going next?
I'm planning to shoot a short film in September. It's hard with like the COVID protocols and everything, so I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know about Hero and Geraldine. Are you gonna act again? Are you gonna? Should we do a sequel?
Are you available? You have an agent.
If he needs me again, if he needs me, I'm there because I've known him from when he was young. So, whatever help he needs from me, if I'm needed, I'm there. If not, and if, that's fine. Yeah, I'm sure to jump in if I'm needed.
Or if there are any casting directors watching.
Exactly.
I did tell him, if you make it big, make sure you cast me, okay? I did ask him that. One of the condition.
And what about you, Hirokazu?
I'm taking a break from filmmaking for now. I think
Mhm.
COVID gave us a nice time to sort of be diffused, be interested in different things. So I'm doing that and see how it goes, I guess. Yeah.
Great. Well, we hope to see you all again at the Canadian Film Fest. Thank you so much for sharing Danica's Mom with us. And we wish you all the best with your future projects.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
you.
for everyone who's watching. We'll be right back with our feature filmmakers, Chained. Hi, everyone. Welcome back, and a big warm welcome to the Chained team. Titus, why don't you introduce yourself and everyone with you this evening?
Hi, my name is Titus Heckel. I'm the writer-director of the film Chained. And we've got our lead actor, Marlon Kazadi. And I think did we lose? Oh, no, we got Leah. Leah's here, Leah Madhu. And Adrian Holmes, all actors in the film. Amazing talent.
Welcome, thank you. So Titus, this is an intense story and some really wonderful relationships on screen, as well as, the mystery and thriller components to it. Where did this story come from for you? What attracted you to this project?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny, every story idea that I get comes from really crazy places and different sources. And for this film, when I write, I just kind of let things go and just kind of see where they take me. And one day, this was a long time ago, one day I just got this flash of an image of a man chained to a wall and a boy kind of standing in front of him. And I didn't really know what that meant or anything. I just really thought that was a really compelling and strong image, and it just it stayed with me. And I didn't do anything with it for a really long time. And then eventually, I was like, "There's something I really want to explore that." And so I finally decided to kind of put pen to paper and dig into whatever that was. And Chained, the film, is a result of that. And everything, because understanding what that, like, I don't exactly know how it came to mean more, like the thematics of it, but it just seemed to be obvious to me once I started writing it.
And then how long was your writing process from like the idea, the inspiration image, to getting that shooting script and going to camera?
Yeah, so I think like from the image to start writing, it must have been like 5 years, because I didn't actually do any writing until for about 5 years on that project. And then once I started writing, it usually when an idea stays with me that long, it's had enough time to just percolate in my unconscious to really have a lot of fodder there. And so when I started writing, it just came really quickly. And I think I wrote the first draft in a few months. But of course, writing, like all art, as Picasso says, it's never completed, only abandoned. And I think that's really true. I mean, I was finishing and rewriting and revising that script all the way until production. And even during production, it got, we were changing things. So it happened. I don't know how, I've lost count how many drafts I have on that script.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You touched on, Titus, some of the thematics, and I know there are a lot of different themes that could be teased out from what is a very dense and layered script. But for me, one of the core themes that stood out was sort of the cyclical nature of abuse and violence. And I'm curious to hear from you as to whether that was a central theme for you or how you envisioned the thematics. And also if we can extend it to your incredible cast, to hear from them what they took from the script and what drew them to each of their roles. Maybe you could start us off.
Yeah, I'll start off. Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious to hear my talent, what the cast are saying. But as far as for me, definitely the theme of abuse is strong in the script. I think more than that, or what comes out of that, I should say, is the idea of what does it mean to be a man, and that was the really big thing for me, because I think when you explore the topic of masculinity, that's really when abuse comes into play, because people, like men who are never allowed to articulate how they feel, and never encouraged that way. Oftentimes, they aren't able to respond to those emotions appropriately, and then that turns and can easily turn into violence, whether that's verbal violence or physical violence or emotional violence. It turns violent, and I think and so that perpetuates itself, because then we teach that to our progeny and to other kids in our society, and it's systemic. And so I do think that they're kind of bound. They're inextricably linked. And so that's kind of a big theme for me in writing the script and how I saw it. But I am super curious, like you, to hear from our cast as well.
Well,
maybe Marlon can chime in next.
Sure, I'll go next. For me, the lesson that I relate to most is the lesson of parenting. I say this because my life is completely different than Taylor. Instead of having an abusive father like Taylor does, I instead have two loving, caring, and supportive parents, which I'm grateful for. And unfortunately for Taylor, he doesn't have that. And he instead has an abusive father. And though his father does love him, he doesn't exactly show that love in the best way. And that's also sadly the same life that many other kids like Taylor have to go through by a day-by-day basis. And also due to that, Taylor ends up making some pretty bad decisions. And one of those decisions was to keep this big guy, a criminal, Jim, chained up in a wall so he could use Jim as a way for Taylor to gain power and control, because at home he doesn't have any of that. And instead, his dad is the one who controls him and has the power over him. And he uses that from Jim, and he also uses Jim as a father figure. So he could ask Jim about how to kiss girls, and how to talk to them and how to defend himself, because he can't ask those questions to his dad. And an example of that, of when Taylor asks a question to Pete, he asks Pete about his mom, and Pete doesn't really respond in the best way, and even whips Taylor, and Taylor ends up pissing himself. And of course, it wasn't actual piss; it was just water, pretty cold water.
Wait, no, your real method. You did it. You did for real. Come on, don't lie.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and due to that, he also makes another bad decision of stealing illegal drug money, and getting his life, risking his life due to that decision, and almost getting his dad killed. And that's one of the reasons why I just really just love this movie, because it really shows the importance of parenting and the development of a kid.
I will follow up. First of all, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and supporting the film. We're very happy that you supported and you came out tonight. My name is Adrian Holmes. I play Pete, Taylor's father. And Pete is a father who was also, I believe, a victim of toxic masculinity in his household. And so therefore, he's not aware that he's being abusive. He's just basically acting out the best he can, and trying to parent his son and teach him how to be a man, and just to prepare him for the world, because he knows the world. He's a police officer, and he's seen just what it's like out there, especially for young Black males and in the world. And so he wants to build him up and give him the strength and the just the thick skin so if he can handle things at home, then he'll be good out there in the world. And there's a scene where where Taylor's holding Pete's holding a cigarette to Taylor, and that scene was basically a metaphor for him, just to let him know that how life can be very unfair, and how hard life is. First of all, I love the script. I was drawn to the script. Titus approached me, and when I read it, I loved it because it was so different from anything else I played. It was a very challenging role, very layered. And when you read the character, he's not the most likable character, and he can be played very one-dimensional. And so I looked at it, I was like, wow, okay, this is going to be fun, because I get to really, sink my teeth into this and find the just the balance between abuse and love, and kind of live within that. So, because he could have easily gone left, and just been played just as an unlikable character that was just abusing his son, when that's not what he was about. He really loves his son, and he wants to prepare his son for the world, but he just doesn't know how to express himself. So he expresses himself through fear. He makes his son fearful of him. His son is trying to find identity. His son's trying to find love. And when he finds Jim, that's the one thing he can control. And Nora, he has love and cares for Nora. So he's finding all those things that he should be getting at home, outside of the home. And that's keeping him outside of, the nest. That's where he feels the most comfortable. But I just really, really enjoyed working with everyone. It's great to work with a director who's also a writer, because he really knows the direction. He knows the script. He knows exactly what he wants. And he was so clear on articulating and directing all of us. It was just such a great experience on all sides. Marlon, Alex. I didn't get to work Nora, his character as much, but it was great, and I'm just so grateful to have been a part of.
Amazing insight.
Sorry, Leah.
So I play Nora, and for me, the theme that stood out is definitely the toxic masculinity, because like Titus said, in today's society, men are kind of told that they have to hide their feelings, which is wrong, obviously. And what I really appreciate about Chained is how harsh and real it is, because I really haven't seen a lot of films like that.
And what was it like for you, Marlon and Leela, as actors preparing for these roles? You know, there's, Laura said there's a lot of themes that are explored. Did you have a specific process as you approached the work in your characters?
Well, for me, I had to prepare more mentally than physically. As I said before, my life is completely different from Taylor. So I really had to transform myself into Taylor, this hurt, abused, and traumatized kid, so I can give out the best performance I possibly could. And I also prepare myself mentally for when I'm not playing the character, I don't, get affected by the abusive aspect of Taylor. And also, while preparing for it, I was also watching Breaking Bad. It's one of my favorite shows. And even though Chained and Breaking Bad have completely different stories, I know I saw some similarities that both Walter White and Taylor have, that they're both in bad circumstances, and due to those bad circumstances, they end up making some drastic and very bad decisions, and ends up affecting the relationship that they have with others. So by that, it helped me come up with some tips and ideas to better enhance my performance. And I also wanted to add, since this was my first ever lead role, I'm very grateful for working with such an amazing crew, with Titus, with Leia, with Alex, and Adrian. It was really an amazing experience, and I'll truly remember this moment.
I'd say I had a pretty similar thing that Marlon did. Titus pointed out that Nora was kind of similar to Laura Ingalls from Little House on the Prairie. So I watched that and kind of got some of my character from that. And I just kind of was focusing on, the mental aspects of it, of really putting myself into Nora's shoes and the character. And after that, it was just a matter of working with the cast. And I think it's an amazing cast and amazing crew. So I had a pretty easy time after that with everybody.
It's when you're working on a project like this, where it can be heavy, some of the scenes, it's really nice when you have a great atmosphere and environment to do that in. When we say cut, and everyone's just positive vibes, positive energy, and supportive, extremely supportive, and there's a lot of trust. And that's so important in order to deliver and do the scenes that are required. You need to have that trust, and we're very, very lucky that we had that with each and every one of us. So,
yeah, I just want to echo. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I want to echo that and just say, yeah, I was like, it's really important to me to build a set that has that level of authenticity to it, where everyone can be open and honest with each other, but that we always show respect for each other. I feel like in that kind of environment, you're going to make really great work, and I feel like the film reflects that a lot. Like, we all felt like we were working as a team, and we were a well-oiled machine by the end, and it felt really great. To work with such talented and committed people. It's just like Marlon said, it's going to stay with me too for the rest of my life as well.
That's great. I would love to also throw in an audience question that came in the mix, which I think is interesting, from Nick, which is, was Jim real, or was he just a character in Taylor's head? So obviously, Titus, you have the omniscient perspective here as the writer, but curious to hear if that theory had occurred to anyone else, if anyone else wanted to jump in as well. Start with you, Titus.
Yeah, well, it's a great question, and my answer to that is I know it's going to probably disappoint this person, to Nick, but I think I actually don't really want to answer that. I kind of think, like, I kind of think there's circumstantial evidence to suggest both, and I think it's important actually to leave it that way, because I think there's something significant about Jim's character and Marlon's relationship to Jim that where the reality of it needs to be there. But throughout the film, Marlon Taylor says throughout the film, I don't know if you caught a lot of these references, but he says things like, "I'm too old to pretend," and I don't do that. But then we see him pretend all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think that childishness within him is bumping up against the reality of his life at home. And it's potentially creating this imaginary character of Jim. That's this screwy version of the screwy kind of like intersection between masculinity and being a child. And I just find that fascinating.
Does anyone else have theories as to the theory of Nick being more of a coping mechanism than an actual character? Did that occur to any of you in the cast?
I kind of think that he's kind of a bit of both. I think he could be, a real person that Taylor is experiencing at times, and then I think there's moments where he thinks it's Jim, but it's not, and it's in his head. I think he kind of goes back and forth with it. To kind of echo Titus, I think it's better to kind of leave it to the audience's imagination too. Let them kind of figure it out.
I guess I kind of would just say like the answer is both, and I think like maybe that's the best way to just say it. It's both, and and not try to resolve it to one or the other, which is probably maybe not that satisfying.
Well, I think you've probably given Nick a lot to think about tonight. What's next for Chained?
Well, we are waiting word on some festivals in the States and Europe, and then simultaneously seeking our U.S. distribution. And we have our launch date, which is June 15th in Canada, and so we'll have a lot more details about when and where we'll be able to watch the film on that day, and going forwards from there.
I also want to give a shout out to Rochelle Chartrand, who's one of our producers, and she's been a huge force behind this whole thing, and we wouldn't be here without her. So
yeah,
thank you, Rochelle.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. Good call. Rochelle is Rochelle without whom this film would not have been made, 100%. So
no.
Yeah.
We do have time to go around with one more question. So I thought I'd also cap off with asking if each of you could maybe chat a little bit about what was your most challenging or memorable moment on set, negative or positive. You could each give us one.
I guess I'll go first. Well, there's so many. This film was shot in such a short time frame, and we had lots of scheduling things that we had to overcome, challenges. But I think probably the most stressful day for me was the day when I woke up and the warehouse in which we shot all the stuff with Alex and Adrian. The warehouse, it had been cold the whole shoot in Kelowna where we were shooting. But then one day, the snow melted and it was all on the roof, and this is an abandoned warehouse. And so the roof just started pouring water, and it was just dripping all over. It was ridiculous. And I like my first AD was like, Titus, I think we have to call it. I don't think we can shoot today. I'm like, no, we're shooting today. I don't care what what we have to do. We have to shoot today. There's no choice. But then like again, because we are who we are on this team, like we got in all these shop vacs, we got all these old rugs and things that just kind of soaked up all the water, and we vacuumed up all the water, and we squeegeed all the water, and we put down kitty litter for all the water. Yeah. And we were ready to go. We were only about an hour later than we would have shot otherwise. And it was unbelievable, but it was probably one of the most stressful days for me, because I was, you know, I could barely walk after that day, just to make sure that we got our shot in. It was crazy.
The film gods were with us.
Yes,
Definitely.
exactly. Yeah.
They were like, this film goes on. We're not going to let anything. Yeah. I really loved shooting in the abandoned warehouse. I thought the lighting was great in there.
Yeah, it was awesome.
The cinematography, it just looked so great. I loved all our stuff in there, the scenes in there. One of the most challenging roles for me was the scene in the house when I was working out, and Taylor comes in, and we have that exchange, and I go to beat him and chase him and all that stuff. That was pretty intense, and you know, getting myself, you know, into that headspace took a bit. But I'm happy that, you know, it all worked out. That scene, and I love the scene with the bicycle. I know there was some stuff that was cut from it, but it was a really nice moment because it showed the humanity of Pete. You know, like, he isn't such a monster, you know, he really loves his son, and he wants to get him a bike, and he wants to win him, you know, his love. He's trying to show him, like, hey, you know what, I do love you. Yeah. But I'll beat your ass at the same time. No, but yeah, there were so many great scenes, so many wonderful scenes. But yeah, I really liked the warehouse. Like I said, it looked so great in there.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, great location.
Well, for me, there are two moments in particular that I remember that were kind of stressful for me. The first one was when the first one for me was when Taylor in the movie had to spray a line across Jim to know how far his chain would go until it started choking him. And in the movie, you know, it was done quick and easy. That's how it's supposed to be. But when it came to filming it, it was pretty stressful. I say that because I'm minor, so I can only work for a limited amount of time. And at that moment, it was almost time for me to go home. And we were planning on having my photo double do it, but unfortunately, his dad got into a car accident, so he had to leave to check up on him. Yeah. And
can I just follow up on that real quick, Marlon? That was the same day that we had all the water in the warehouse.
Yeah. And that even actually made it even worse. And everybody was stressed out and worried that we wouldn't be able to film that shot. But luckily, I was able to manage it, and we got it. We got that scene. And the other moment that I remember that was kind of stressful for me was when I added a part where after Pete brought me outside and showed me my broken bike, I added moments where I kicked the bike out of rage.
Oh gosh.
I remember that. We're like, I got really into the character, and I completely forgot that I wasn't wearing any boots. I was instead just wearing some flip-flops, and I almost broke my toe. And what kind of made it stressful was that we might have not been able to film the rest of the shoot because of a dumb mistake I did by just kicking the bike with a job. But
that take obviously made the film, and so I don't know if it's like that scene in Lord of the Rings when Viggo Mortensen kicks his helmet. He broke his foot.
Yeah.
And so they had to not shoot for like months. I was like, oh no, don't pull a Viggo, man.
That scream was real. Viggo was like, my foot.
I know, but like Marlon, not a peep. Like, he almost broke his foot, and he didn't say anything.
It was like, it was internal.
It was internal, yeah.
We felt it.
Method.
Yeah.
For me, I don't have any like particularly stressful moments, but the whole film in general, like the experience of that was amazing and crazy for me because it was my first movie. So I was just so happy to be part of it. My favorite set was definitely the set in Caledon, which was the garden scene, because it was so beautiful, especially at night with all like the banners and the lights and everything. So I was definitely like an amazing set to be on.
Leah, let me just follow up with that, because there was one day where you did have something stressful happen to you, and that was when you were given the sides for the wrong version of the script, and you had a scene where it was like your longest scene, and it was a walk and talk, and you didn't have the right script, and so we had to print up a new script for you, and you had to learn those lines on that day. You had like 15 minutes to learn the rest of the lines that were different. And that in that moment, I feel like just the energy of that scene, it really comes through, and it's arguably one of your best scenes, and it's amazing. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
So the moral of the story is make sure you get your dialogue 15 minutes before you shoot, so that you can have an incredible performance.
Exactly.
Well, on the note of that pearl of wisdom, that might be where we have to leave our audiences and any filmmakers listening. So do emulate that if you dare. But I want to give a huge thank you on behalf of Ashley and myself to the whole Chained team for joining us. And thanks also to our audiences that are tuning in. I want to remind everyone that Canadian Film Fest is on until April 18th. There are lots more terrific films and industry programming taking place over the next 10 days. So be sure to keep an eye on the Canadian Film Fest Facebook page, as well as our website, www.canfilmfest.ca, for more great films, and tune in tomorrow for the industry series. It's going to be great. And thanks again to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.